John, Bob. Paul's sitting in tonight.
Howdy.
Okay,
Oh,
we
how
are
you
all
doing?
set.
Good. How are you?
Good, good, thanks.
Good to see everybody.
Joe, we all set?
Yes.
I'm all set.
Okay, here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the February 2nd, 2022 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open with a roll call. Mr. Urice,
Here.
Ms. Hofstadter,
Here.
Mr. Kyokyo,
Here.
Mr. Sylvain,
Here.
Mr. Renz and Mr. Haas, the alternates are not here, and Chairman Finaldi is here, so we do not have.
Kevin's here.
Already
Kevin's here.
I apologize, Kevin. Welcome. Thank you for attending. I stand corrected. Because all of the regular members are here, we still do not have to seat an alternate, but Kevin, we're glad you're here just in case, so thank you. The minutes of the January 5th and January 19th meetings were previously emailed to you. Unless there's any comments or any corrections, I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
A
Go ahead.
motion has been made and seconded to accept the minutes of the January 5th and January 19th, 2022 meetings. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 The minutes of those two meetings are accepted. Before we move on, I'd like to just read my usual introduction to Zoom meetings. As a reminder, this meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. As always, if you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. Commission members, what I'd like to do, if I could, looking at our agenda for this evening, you'll notice that there's one item under old business for discussion and possible action. It's the matter of Germantown Plaza Associates LLC. Given the size of the first public hearing, I think it might be prudent to move that to the very start, the very top of our agenda, get that done, hopefully approve that resolution, and then we can move on to the public hearing. So I'd like to, if you're so inclined, entertain a motion to move that old business to the top of our agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Bob.
I'll
Is
second.
Joel, you're
Seconded.
muted.
Okay, there has been a motion and a second to move the matter, to move old business or discussion and possible action to the top of our agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will try your minds. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, that will go to item 1. Before we move on, just a couple of notes. The next regular meeting, which was scheduled for Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. has been canceled. There will be a special meeting hosted on Zoom held on Thursday, February 17th at 7:30 p.m. Everybody got that? Just remember, we all have Wednesday burned into our brain, but this one's going to be on a Thursday, so please make a note of that. Okay, we are going to move on. As per the motion that was just made, the first item to be discussed is our old business for discussion and possible action agenda. Item 1, Germantown Plaza Associates LLC, application for revised special exception, revised site plan approval for medical offices in building number 30 in the CG 20 and RA 8 zones, 20 and 30 Germantown Road, J11361, J11355, special exception 370. Commission members, a draft resolution of approval with conditions dated January 27th, 2022 was previously distributed for your review.
Chairman,
Yes,
if, unless there's objection, since everyone has seen this application as it was distributed to us, or the resolution as it was distributed to us in advance, I'd like to make a motion to approve the application as per the draft resolution before us.
thank you, Joel. There's been a motion. Is there a second by Helen Hofstetter? Is there any additional discussion on the resolution of approval? Okay, so a motion has been made and seconded to approve the resolution of approval with conditions. I will ask all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution of approval with conditions is approved. Okay, thank you for that. I think that's good to get that out of the way.
I didn't have to say a thing, so thank you.
Perfect. Okay. The first public hearing this evening. Let me make sure I have the legal notice here. Item 1, 46 Mill Plain LLC. Application for special exception site plan approval for mixed-use development, Westcon Park in the CA80, RMF4, and RA40 zones. 1. Proposed uses in CA80 zone, retail, professional, business, offices, banquet, drive-through, and restaurant. Sections 3E8, 5B2A5, 5B2A8, 5B2A39, and 4B2A40. Proposed uses in RMF zone, apartment house, housing incentive option, and congregate housing. Sections 4B2A1, 4B4A, 4B7, 4B2A4, and 4B4D. 3. Proposed use in RA40 zone, park, playground, or recreational facility, sections 4A2A, 4, and 4A2D. And number 4, cumulative uses generating over 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E5, 3 to 13 Mill Plain Road and Amity Lane. I'll skip the reading of the map numbers for the sake of brevity. And I will now read the legal notice, which is going to sound very similar to what I just read, but there's no way around it, so you'll have to bear with me. Legal notice. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission of the City of Danbury will hold a public hearing commencing at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022, in a web-based meeting hosted on Zoom to consider the following matter. Here we go. 46 Mill Plain LLC. Application for special exception site plan approval for mixed-use development Westcon Park in the CA80, RMF4, and RA40 zones. 1. Proposed uses in the CA80 zone, retail, professional / business, offices, banquet, drive-through, and restaurants, sections 3E8, 5B2A5, 5B2A8, 5B2A39, and 4B2A40. 2. Proposed uses in RMF4 zone, apartment house, housing incentive option, and congregate housing, sections 4B2A1, 4B4A, 4B7, 4B2A4, 4B4D. 3. Proposed use in the RA40 zone, park, playground, or recreational facility, sections 4A2A4, 4A4D, and 4. Cumulative uses generating over 500 vehicle trips per day, section 3E2, 13 to 31 Mill Plain Road and Amity Lane. Again, I will skip the reading of the map numbers. A copy of this application is on file in the Planning and Zoning Office for public inspection. Parties in interest and citizens shall have an opportunity to be heard at this time. Agenda to be posted will include instructions on how to access the Zoom meeting and application materials and view the meeting in real time on YouTube. Arnold D. Finaldi Jr., Chairman, posted on City website and Town Clerk's office on January 19th, 2022, published in the News Times on January 21, 2022, January 28th, 2022, purchase order number 2021-174. All right. Before we get started on this application, commission members, and then to the applicant as well, and anyone else interested, I just had a couple of observations or comments, and which are intended to clarify and hopefully streamline this very large and very complicated application. As I mentioned, this is a very large application, very complicated. We've got 11 buildings, we've got 31 acres, we've got a lot of moving parts here. For the sake of clarity and the sake of sanity, just a couple of suggestions and recommendations. One, commission members, everybody received this document via email. This is the one entitled Lifestyle Architectural Elements. This particular document shows the 11 buildings and they are all numbered. Every building proposed on this application is numbered 1 through 11 on that particular document. I would ask, to the extent possible, that the applicant and members of the commission, when you're referring to a building that is being proposed on this application, that you refer to it by number. So for example, the proposed bank building is number 1. The proposed restaurant is building 2. So just so we could find it quicker and we'll know what you're talking about, I would ask, to the extent possible, that you try to do that. The second suggestion has to do with the traffic report. As we all know, the traffic report on this matter was 208 pages long. And the original draft, the pages were not numbered sequentially because there's a lot of stuff that gets inserted into these reports. So you might go from page 7, then 8, then there's several inserts, and then page 9. Jennifer was nice enough to number these pages. And I think the numbered document was submitted to everybody. So I would ask the applicant and the commission, to the extent possible, when you're referring to something specific in the traffic report, refer to the page number you are referring to. What I'm trying to avoid is a scenario whereby we're all fumbling around through a 208-page traffic report trying to figure out where we are. I'm trying to avoid that. So if possible, I would ask the applicant and the commission members, when commenting on the traffic report, please refer to the page number so we can find it. Number 3, we have a 13-page staff report. As you know, we have 26 different comments on that report. Again, to the extent possible, there's a lot going on with this application. If you could possibly tie your comments back to the numbered, tie your questions rather, or comments back to the numbered comment on the report, that would be helpful. So you might want to say, well, on comment 12, the staff mentioned such and such. That again will help us hopefully keep this thing in order and prevent us from jumping all over the place. And then finally, I wanted to mention that this public hearing will not be closed this evening. There is no possible way that could happen, and it won't happen. We have not yet heard back from our city traffic engineer. That report has not been disseminated. So we have not, as a commission, had an opportunity to reconcile the applicant's traffic report with the comments from our own traffic engineer. So there might be discussion on traffic tonight. There might be questions that will be asked at the next public hearing after we have a chance to review our own traffic engineer's report. But I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. We have not, as a commission, we have not received our traffic engineer's report, and we also haven't received a report from the engineering department. So those items remain open as I speak. All right. With that said, is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Give it echo, Attorney Marcus. There's a big echo there.
Yeah, we're going to try to address that. Okay, hang on a second.
Can anybody hear him?
Looks like he's on mute.
I'm going to try again. Are you off, Doug?
That echo is really bad, Neil.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Neil.
We're working on it.
Go ahead, try that.
Is that any better?
Yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, no echo.
Hang on a second. I've got absolutely terrible.
Back.
I'm going to try again. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me
Yes,
without an echo?
right now, yes.
Lovely. Thank you. For the record, Neil Barkus, Kona Wolf PC 158, Deer Hill Avenue in Danbury, on behalf of the applicant. And I just want to explain, we are, even though your meeting is on Zoom and not live, our team here is gathered in a meeting room. And what you were hearing earlier was the fact that a lot of us have individual PCs open and we had to close them all down. So that only one is talking at a time. So that was our audio error, but we've corrected that and hopefully it won't happen again. This application is, as the chair has explained in his reading of the public notice, it involves property at 46 Mill Plain Road on the north side of Mill Plain, a little over 31 acres. It is a mixed use development, as has been pointed out on the lifestyle architectural elements face page. It consists of 11 different buildings. And the buildings have been identified as to their use, but they are commercial, they are retail, they're restaurant, bank, they're office buildings. And we have a housing element, which includes some set aside housing opportunities as affordable housing. And we have a congregate housing facility as well. The application is spread out over 3 different zones. A number of years ago, this property had been zoned in the corporate research park zone. And the intention and the hope at that time was to develop it for a corporate research park. Unfortunately, the real estate economy and the economy in general has moved away from that type of use. Interestingly enough, when General Electric left Fairfield a number of years ago, I think that put an official end to corporate parks. Obviously, when Union Carbide moved out of Danbury, we had much of the same feeling. So the property has been restyled as a lifestyle center, which includes a number of elements that will be discussed in greater detail this evening. The property adjoins the Western campus and is located basically, for those of you who don't know exactly where it is, across the street pretty much from Stop and Shop on Mill Plain Road. This evening's presentation, I'm not going to take a great deal of your time because you're going to hear from a number of presenters. The first will be Albert Salem, who is the principal of the development team and has been involved in this property for a long time. And then you will hear as well this evening from our site engineer, Paul Vitiliano from VHB, and from Joe Balkus, who's the traffic engineer also with VHB. And then later in the evening, you'll hear from the Griffin family, which are proposing the Congregate Housing facility on the upper portion of the site. The site itself, as I said, is a mixed use, but you've got a unified site plan. And it's going to be a little bit different from a lot of the site plans and special exceptions you've seen in the past, in that we do not have a lot of separate lot lines. The parcels have been assembled from 8 different tax parcels over the years. But as you'll see on the maps, we have unified the property to be serviced by a main driveway, which will remain a part of the association that'll own the individual real estate units, so that the property will not be a typical subdivision. You won't have to deal with typical setbacks from property lines or setbacks from road frontages other than on Mill Plain Road. So the entire site fronts on Mill Plain Road, and that's your front yard setback. Once you get into the interior of the site, you're dealing with driveways and not proposed city roads, even though, as you will see in the comments, there's some discussion as to whether the roads will be built to the city standard or how close to the city standard they'll be. There are in the staff report, which again, I will commend Jennifer, her overview of the application in terms of the activities that are proposed, the history, the zoning history of the site, and a description of the site are correct. As we get through the staff report, which we'll not finish this evening, there are a number of comments. Some of those comments have already been addressed because we were given the heads up as the staff was reviewing this, that there were changes that were being sought in the plans. We've made them. Others are, I think, points that just need to be clarified, and some of them will obviously require further modification as the plan continues to undergo review. I don't expect that we'll address any of those in detail this evening, but I'll assure you that we'll address all 26 before the process is finished. So that's our overview of the application. I'm going to ask at this point, and again, I'll ask the chairman what his preference is going to be in terms of questions from the commission, whether you want to wait until a presenter presents everything, or whether you want to wait until all the presenters present the entire application tonight for your questions. I'll leave that up to you. But I'll just assure you that in the early part of the presentation, you may hear about one aspect of the site, and in the later part of the presentation, you'll hear, for example, about Congregate Housing, which will be addressed specifically at a later point. So we'll be happy to be interrupted and answer questions, but I would encourage the commission to try to hold all your questions until we get finished with the presentation. And that point, it'll probably go a lot smoother. So having said all that, I'm going to ask Albert Salem to introduce himself on the record and to give you his vision of what is on the board before you this evening. Thank you.
Well, my name is Albert Salem. I look over here at the screen and recognize most of you people have seen me before at various commission meetings, and it's good to see everyone is here. And there are a few new members, but I think before the hearing is over, they'll all know me fairly well. So at any rate, I have a little brochure that we've prepared, which I think can take you through the project and give you, provide as much clarity as we can regarding the issues themselves, how we intend to correct them, the benefits that we hopefully will come to the community and the city, all as part of this project. And I can guarantee you that I put a lot of time and effort into it. So it's been a lot of years, and the grass has grown very well. And so I guess it's time for us to cut it. So I'll start with the following. You've heard from Neil Marcus and background on the project. I know you're all familiar with Neil, and we have a good bunch of people there. We have Joe Balkis, who will be on later this evening, who is our traffic engineer. Joe has worked in the Danbury area for the past 20 or 25 years. He's worked up at the reserve, and he's worked over on the highway projects. And I think he has currently 3 current projects in Danbury that are being developed. So there isn't any doubt in my mind that he has most of it at his fingertips, and we're happy to have him along. The other gentleman is his associate, is Paul Vitiliano. I believe Paul is on at the moment. Joe will be joining a little bit later. And he has currently worked on this project with us for the past couple of years, and he's done a wonderful job. And I'm sure that the time will come when you will have questions for him, and you will have questions later for Joe. And I will basically just go over the buildings themselves, what we intend to put in them, and how all of this may come together and will come together as a lifestyle center where people can work, live, shop, and play in one area. We are contiguous to the university, as Neil mentioned, and we have had great cooperation from Dr. Clark at the university. You will see in some of the letters that his support letter of the project itself, and it really stays in touch, and it's been great to be working with that type neighbor. So I want to provide you with pictures of the architectural and community elements. I will follow what Chairman Arnie Finaldi has indicated and go with the actual numbers of the various buildings. VHB aerial overview of the project. Compatibility with city plan of development. We're planning, I have not gotten quite into the business, the building numbering aspect yet, but we are planning the project itself should produce approximately 2,000 jobs. That's based on 4 per 1,000 feet of building floor area, or 1,500 per 1,000 jobs based on a per 1,000 feet, based on a slightly less amount. The impact multiplier presented by Mercedes-Benz and BMW in Alabama and South Carolina was at 10 per 1,000 square feet. Therefore, our 4 per 1,000 is conservative. Property taxes, personal property tax, water and sewer taxes should increase the sustainability of the project itself. The road improvements at Mill Plain were designed for construction by the state over 10 years ago. The state took strips of land off 3 of our properties, including Amity Lane. We had been in discussion with the state just 1 month ago on a Zoom call with Roger Palazzo, the city's development manager. And we are planning to acquire a large green strip which exists at the front of the property itself. By acquiring that strip, we feel we will be able to take down some of the excessive rock. The state will have the ability to widen the road, and by removal of the rock itself, the state, according to the agreement and according to the original agreement, which they did about 10 years ago for their widening, they will normally take it down to slope rights, and we take the balance down on our property. We've asked them to be able to do this in cooperation, in conjunction with our own work. So consequently, we feel that that is the way it will go. We've had no indication from the state that that will not be the case. I've been informed that the state of Connecticut, at least I saw it in the newspapers, that we were awarded $6 billion by the federal government under the new programs. And the new programs basically called for $3 billion for roads and bridges and the other $3 billion for other uses, which the state may call on them for. The next issue is our proximity to Westcon University campus and interaction for both students and residents of Westcon Park. There will be some living there. There will be others that they will create courses for. As long as they have a minimum, I believe the number is 25, they will create courses for for nursing and various types of things that would kind of work in with the overall project. We have support letters in the packet, which you may see from Westcon University President John Clark. Westcon have reduced their annual tuition from $25,000 per year to $11,800 annually for our adjacent New York State residents. We in turn have been working with the railroad, which will come up a little bit later in our in my booklet here, and the New York State Transit Authority on the $1 million study has included us as part of that program. The authority itself, I've had several meetings with them. We currently have 2 sites on Mill Plain Road, and we also have the park itself. And this would be very helpful for students that would be able to travel from New York to Connecticut or Connecticut to New York, and some of our future residents also. The express train that has been under discussion could be in New York City with 1 stop in White Plains or someplace in Westchester in 1 hour and 8 seconds. So it sounds pretty good to me. So let's see what they say. In addition, they have done a survey on how many cars a day move from Connecticut to New York State and use 4 basic parking lots there to get into the city. It's somewhere around 2,600 or 2,700 cars a day. In addition, they've done a mileage study which determines how many miles per day the cars themselves drive on the road. And the newest issue, of course, is how many gallons of gasoline do they burn, and what is the impact on our carbon footprint, which I think the more this is studied, the more we'll find out that our habits are going to change. The next issue I have here is the emergency fire access. The fire access is in the process with the university. They are willing to give us one that would go from the north side of our property, go through the Westcon property, and it would be a gravel path that could accommodate the fire trucks, and also at the same time provide a walking path for the residents to access the campus and the performing arts facility. The support letter that we have from Nuvance Health, formerly Western Connecticut Danbury Hospital, Western Connecticut Health Network. And Morris Gross was a gentleman that was he's since retired. He built several million feet for the hospital. He was familiar with this project and was very instrumental in giving me ideas on what it should look like and how it would be compatible for everyone concerned. So we have some long-term programs here, and the alliance with the university and also the Vermont UVM. There are several medical students, like I think something like 30 a year, that come down, and hopefully we will have some units there that will be affordable. And the possibility is that the hospital and the university can kind of decide who's the most deserving and how do we get these young people started with something that's more affordable than it would be under ordinary circumstances. The next screen we have here is the project itself. The project itself shows several buildings. I will attempt to go along with Arnie's request and see if I can provide some clarity on the buildings themselves and where they are.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Joel.
it's just so I don't get lost in this. That nice little color overview with the numbered buildings. I didn't find that in my material. Just tell me where it is.
It's Joel, what it is that on the various handouts that were attached on the application, one of them, if you could see me here, one of these reports that was distributed was entitled Lifestyle Architectural Elements at the top. And it was labeled as such on the agenda, Lifestyle Architectural Elements. And on this very front page, the buildings are shown and numbered. So, I mean, it's not absolutely essential that we refer to the buildings by number, but I just thought for the sake of clarity.
No, I agree with you. I just haven't seen that particular sheet, and I want to go find it before we get too deep in this thing.
That's fine. That's fine. But again, if you just print page 1 or look at page 1, you'll see what they're referring to. But while you're doing that, I'll let the applicant continue.
Yep.
Okay,
Please.
Arnie? Okay, the overall project and retail sector in the foreground. This phase of the project will be comprised of a 30,000 square foot retail building. Now that will be number 3, I believe.
Yes.
On the, I'll now get that chart here. It would be number 3. Okay. Yes, Doug has his arrow there. That's building number 3.
Yeah.
Building number 1, I will revert over to number 1, which is a bank facility. We are not at liberty at this point to disclose the name of the bank because they have not gone to the banking commission for approval of the site. Obviously, once they do, we will announce which building it is. They have already hired an architect. The building is under design, and we have an agreement subject to approval of the banking commission. The next building will be number 2, and this is a restaurant. We call it an ale house. We did have an agreement 5 or 6 years ago, and then we did not do the project. They did do a preliminary design. It's compatible for what is currently there. All the youngsters enjoy the ale house, and that will be one that will come along, and there will be, where you see the trees on the eastern side of the building, there will be enough area there to create an outdoor patio. And that will kind of be one of the features of the so-called ale house. That is building number 2, correct? Now, where are we moving next up? Next is building number 5. building number 5 is a mixed-use building. We'll have retail at the first level, and we'll have offices at the upper level. Actually, today we have less than 10% offices in the entire project. The office market, there are several buildings now that are looking for tenants, but we do feel that there will be some law offices and some others that are looking for a new build. We're presenting a new build in a new area with new growth. And the retail space at the lower level, hopefully we're looking to do possibly a coffee shop there, maybe create a bookstore area and things of that type that will be more as community oriented, slightly more than our front buildings. And that is building number 4.
No, that's fine. Building 4 is.
Oh, number 4. Where,
Four is the small restaurant.
okay. Oh, 4, I'm sorry. There is one more building that's not on the screen, and that will be a restaurant building. It's about 18 to 1900 feet. And once we're able to finish our program with the state on the road widening and the removal and so forth, that site will be suitable for a building of this type. Now, where are we on the landscape intentions? It's 2-story mixed-use retail. Okay. This here is the entry, the shops at Westcom Park. The shops at Westcom Park will actually be the main entrance to the property other than the retail area. And that will have the retail building as we have it in the picture, which you can see the illustration. That's building number 3. The lower level, we will have some retail stores. We also feel we will have a food court. The food court will try to give it some international flair where we have a variety of some of various types of restaurants, something for the morning, something for lunch, and something for dinner. And the balance of the first floor will be some retail. And then we have a mix of some potential clients for the second floor. The second floor will be very attractive in that the basic elevation here, the 84 is somewhere around 465 is the elevation. And the elevation of this site goes up to 600, the elevation of 600 feet. So consequently, with the 80 or 90,000 cars a day that travel the road, we'll be able to see the project itself. And we think will be just a good selling point or making them aware of what we have done in Danbury for the moment to try to stay in pace with the rest of the country.
Yeah, but that's your office, freaking highway.
Yeah, and it'll be great visibility from the actual apartments too, because they'll be able to look down at the green and so on and so forth. So this is our easterly entry. This is a restaurant pad here. It's just generic, and until we sign up the individual tenant, we can't just we'll be able to show that. And if the former people that we did it for originally are interested, we had a designer in Ohio that did it. We'd be happy to have them. Our next building is, talk about this already. It was number 2 restroom pad, correct? Yeah. Yeah, this is our bank pad. It's generic. It's a placeholder. So you all know what would be going there. It's basically 3,800 square feet. So we've passed the bank pad. The next is, what do we have here? Overall project. This is the whole thing. Yeah. Management Zoom West Town. You can see West. Okay, and we will have a planting buffer that goes up the road. The planting buffer will start from Mill Plain Road and go all the way up past the 2 residential. First of all, the garage itself, and then it will go past the 2 residential homes. They're very nice people. We have a good relationship with them. We have told them that we will keep their driveways at the same access they currently are. We will give them screening of some of the vegetation that is that would give them the type. We'll do it according to what they like, both the Pippingers and Norwich. So we've been around so long, there's no strangers here any longer. And what is that next one now? Yeah, the main entry is where the bank pad would go, and Doug has his arrows there now. This side, okay. What is the number of that? Okay, then we get up to the residential section, which are the 3 residential buildings. This is Griffin. That's the next one. No, building number 7. Okay. Doug and I never sat down with numbers, even though they might have been there, but it's fine. This is the next building is the Griffin building that's currently at the lowest part of the screen is the Congregate Housing building that Matt Griffin will introduce to you and speak of and give you some background on the Griffin family history, the generations that they have been in it, and what they are currently doing in various parts of the country. And they've been great people. We've been working with them now, and they will be participating in the entire project for 4 or 5 years. So we've had a lot of meals together. Let's just put it that way. At any rate, and our next one here will be the residential apartments. The residential apartments, as you can see, are the 3 of them are up at the rear of the property. That is where we're contiguous to the university. If you can visualize the road going up between the last 2 buildings, we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3. 3 is the furthest one at the east. And those are buildings number 8, 9, and 10. And if you visualize the road that's currently there, that will be the road that will continue up to the university. It will be gated for fire access, and we will create the footpath that will run up through the university property. It will cross over around the first housing building and turn right into Western Connecticut Drive, which is their University Boulevard, we call it. That'll give them access to the entire campus. And it should really work out very well. And that is about the situation on those 8 or 9 units. The units themselves will basically be around 80%, 85% will be 1 and 2 bedroom units. We have 6 units that will be studio apartments. And we have another 6 in the entire complex that will be 3 bedroom units. And we did a survey of basically 15 institutions in Connecticut, in the greater Danbury area, mainly Fairfield County. And this is how we came up with our number as far as the mix is concerned. And it seems to be somewhat consistent with what has been done in downtown Danbury with the 3 projects we have. Well, I'm going to say basically 2, 1 completed, 1 under construction, and the other had pre-existed. So we will be, we think where we are, we'll kind of, we hope we're guessing it correctly. Let's put it that way. And as long as the habits of the existing people don't change, we should be okay. And we've talked about the basic attraction for professors and researchers and empty nesters, close proximity to the university, sports, and the performing arts center. And the university itself does really make great offerings to anyone that's willing to be part of the WestCon society. They have their weekly movies and give you refreshments and all of that. And it's a great opportunity to commingle and find out who your neighbors are. And in many cases, discuss the things you're currently doing with one another. And it's just, we feel like it'll be a great thing. I've been up at the university at the Performing Arts Center a few times, and the people there are just a great bunch. And it's, I think it's a positive thing, especially when you get a little bit closer to retirement age and you have the time on your hands and you're able to do this in an atmosphere that brings you out with some of your neighbors and so forth. And the other will be the and the other is the fact that we have 3.4 acres reserved as a for a clubhouse. And at a later date, we have designed, they're not on the plan yet, but we will have a pool and a swimming pool and a tennis court. And there'll also be a running path that will connect from the recreational area to the ultimate gravel drive. And that will give the runners an ability to come and go and wind up back at the clubhouse if that's what they choose to do. And I don't know about much else. This mixed use building, that's building number 6. That is going to be a commercial building. It will be mainly for offices and probably some medical offices. It will have underground parking. There will be a 3-story building at 17,000 feet per floor. And that's one that will kind of take a little bit of everything. We think we will have medical interest there with the growth on the west side, with the reserve with 2,800 new homes that's built by Toll, another 460 apartments by BLT. So the population is growing. We are finding a good several moving from New York to Connecticut, and we're happy to have them. And we think that some of these things that the West Side is doing, not only me, there's a lot of development, that it's being very accommodative to the New Yorkers. And that's kind of the end of my presentation, I'll say. And we hope that the community, you know, our vision is kind of, you all agree with what we're doing is what I'm saying. And we come back with a project that we all can be proud of as Danburyans. I've worked in Danbury for a lot of years, and my dad worked a lot of years before me. And my children, who are not children any longer, but they all have interest in what we're doing. And we're very fortunate to have it the way we have. Everybody is within 45 minutes of Dad, and I'm here. So other than that, there isn't much I can say. I would like to introduce Mr. Matt Griffin, and Matt will happy to speak to you about their project.
Okay, please.
Okay, Anya, just a second. Actually, Doug had his name on my picture, so he earlier.
I would ask the applicant, Attorney Marcus, who's up next? Try to keep it moving along here.
Doug, can I get on?
You're on, but there's an echo again.
Am I good? Okay. We're going to ask that Matt Griffin make a quick presentation on the congregate housing aspect. Al just pointed out where the building was located. Matt will talk a little bit more about the program itself that's envisioned for the site. So we'll go to him. And then when he's finished, we'll ask Paul Vitiliano to pick up with the site engineering, followed by Joe Balkis on the traffic report. Actually, I'll let the two of them deliver that together as they see fit. So let's ask Matt to pick up for a second, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And can everybody see the screen that says Griffin Living on it? That's our presentation that's getting through.
Now we're
Yes.
still looking at the calendar.
Bear with us for just a moment.
Google Calendar.
There was a way to do screen share. Can you see the presentation? Ladies and gentlemen, can you see the presentation that says Griffin Living?
No.
Nope.
Apologies, bear with us for a moment. When can we start asking questions?
Let's just hold off. Who said that? Who was that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Charlie.
Charlie, who? I don't know who that is.
I'm a resident of Crestdale Drive.
Okay, well, here's what happens. Just so, well, maybe this is a good time to give you a brief refresher or anyone else. We typically let the applicant make their presentation. They do their.
It's a big presentation.
Hold on. We let the applicant make their presentation. They bring out whoever they want to bring out. Then they finish. I then asked, is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? And anyone else on this call or on this Zoom meeting who wants to speak in favor can do so. I then, when that's all done, I say, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? And the opposition can speak. But I caution you, this is not a Q&A. The members of the public, the applicant is not here to answer questions direct from the public. You would ask the question to the commission, and we would ask the question to the applicant. We just can't have a free-flowing question and answer session. This is not a Q&A session. Never was intended to be. So if you wish to speak in favor, great. If you wish to speak in opposition, that's okay too. But the questions have to come to the commission. You would ask me, these are the questions I have. I would write them down and I would pose them to the applicant. It's not a free-form Q&A session. That's not what this public hearing was intended to be. So if you be patient, you'll get your chance. I guess that's what I'm saying. We typically unmute one microphone at a time just to make sure that we're doing this sequentially. So right now we're in the part of the meeting where the applicant is making a presentation. I don't know who's up next, Neil. Who are we? Whoever's speaking next, please identify yourself for the record.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Matthew Griffin. I am with Griffin Living. We have out of our Atlanta office, we have offices, regional offices in Georgia, in Florida, and California. We're very pleased to be able to be here tonight to talk about the Mill Plain Road project and our participation in it and what we've done. I've actually been involved with this project for going on 6 years now. So really almost since its inception, working with Albert Salem and his team. We were introduced to the project with our partner and our construction partner, Morganti Construction, which is based here in Danbury. And they saw our body of work, and as we were collaborating with them, they really thought we would be a good fit to be participating on the senior building, the assisted living building, or the congregate care facility that you might be referring it to in the planning and zoning document. Are we on? Oh, good. Can you see the screen now? Can you see where it says Griffin Living?
I can, yes. I can.
Yeah.
I can see it.
Okay, very good. So sorry about that delay. We're just, public hearings and Zoom meetings probably are a difficult mix, but I think we've got it now. So as I was saying, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. What I thought would be good for my team with Griffin is I'm here with my brother Paul and my brother David. Paul is our CEO out of our Florida office, my brother David out of our California office. They are both off screen. And we're pleased to be here and be a part of the presentation this evening. We are here focusing on the congregate care facility. However, I thought I'd give you a little bit of a broader background of our qualifications and our experiences and why we think we're a good fit to participate with Albert Salem on the overall development of this community. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and make certain gestures to transition from slide to slide. A little bit about Griffin Living, if I can just get that. There we go again. Goodness, okay. A little bit about our background. Griffin Living, we are a family-owned development company. We are in our 5th generation. We've been in business since 1903 with our great-great-grandfather. Our primary historical background has been in master plan communities, residential master plan communities, and you might see a photo with palm trees if you're following on the presentation here with some of our experience where we're able to provide critical mass housing projects with features in master plan communities. So we have quite a bit of experience and expertise in master plans, similar to the one that's being presented to you this evening in different regions of the country. And I thought I'd take just a moment to show a couple sample photos of work that we've done where we've been able to put in large scale infrastructures, entry features, water features, and community elements. Okay, do I just hit enter? Okay, this is another example of a community where we put in the infrastructure. It was a actually was an abandoned industrial site when we started in about 1996, and since developed roughly 1,200 units of various residential use. But it was a partnership with a local university in Riverside County, California, called La Sierra University. They had excess land. They were looking to try and expand on the land use and try and create a good quality development that would complement the university and be able to provide interaction between community and the university. And we were able to come through and put in the water features, the infrastructure, the housing element, and really try to intertwine it with the university and with the university's activity features, such as their ball fields. And it went over very, very well. So we're pleased about that opportunity. But my point here being that we are, pardon me?
I don't know what that was. Let's make sure everybody's muted except the presenter. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, very good. So this is just an example of our capacity with the expertise that we bring as a company in terms of bringing quality vision and implementation on large scale developments, which we intend to do by participating with Albert in this community here. We also have a lot of experience in multifamily housing and active adult communities. I would point out that the architecture that you see in front of you in the screen is not what we are intending to do here in Danbury, Connecticut. It is in a different area of the country, but to point out elements of it, which we try to bring community together. We bring high-end, best-in-class clubhouses, recreational facilities, units. This particular photo and complex was of an active adult community where we had the nice pools and the water features and what have you. Again, very much tailored to the Southern California region, but it did get the National Active Adult Community of the Year in 2011 because of the way we conceived it and the way we executed the plan with not just our architecture or our land plan elements, but the way we program the community, bringing the community to the larger community around it. We had speed dating programs. We had Miss Active Adult California, brought a lot of good publicity, but really also just brought a vibrant lifestyle and something that the people weren't just going there to lead a quiet lifestyle. They were going there to have a quality of life. We also have plenty of experience in multifamily housing. This is just the clubhouse and the a typical unit that we built for 265 apartments in Riverside County, California. Again, very successful project. In fact, through COVID, this particular property stayed 100% full. So we're very pleased about that because of what we were able to bring in our amenities, our land plan, and our vision. In 2011, we really took all of our development expertise, whether it be master plan communities, large scale communities, multifamily, active adult, and we really felt that we needed to focus on senior housing, and in particular, needs-based senior housing, which would be assisted living and memory care. A little bit more scaled down, but as we all know, there is the demographic is shifting there with the advent of the baby boomers, especially hitting that time in their lives starting in about 2026, which is when this property should be up and running. So I'll take this opportunity to show you some examples of our work and some of the planning elements that we have in these communities. This is one that we did in Roswell, Georgia, which is a northern suburb of the Atlanta area. And you can see that the architecture is quite different than what you just saw, which was in California. This one is a little bit more traditional, Georgian, we'll call it. Components of it might even apply to the Northeast, but we really did tailor this to the regional flair in Georgia. And what you see there is a traditional look, but when you walk through the front door, which is Can I use this? Oh, thank you. So which walk through the front door. Our whole point in senior houses, when you walk through, you have impact. We want to try and take these communities which have a stigma to them of being a nursing home or a place where people go that's more clinical in its nature. And we really want to make it a vibrant residential experience, not a place where you go to just have medical care or to be forgotten or warehouse, which is, of course, the stigmas and the stereotypes of it, but a place where you go to have a quality of life. And we do that through not just our programming, but also in our design and architecture. And that front door, for instance, opens up into the second-story balcony, which opens up into our two-story high-end restaurant and our bistro, which would then go out and look into our water feature. And this one, I think, is quite unique because we have a feature that is more of a calling card for the community around it. But that rotunda is where the two-story restaurant use is, and then they overlook the water. I think this is kind of important to note because the water feature here is not a man-made lake or pond, but it is a natural pond that was designated state waters by the state of Georgia. So it really has a wetland edge to it. And we were able to take our setback from the wetlands area and protection, put a water feature, a vertical water feature in the pond to have the visual impact for our residents, the animation, which was also good for the pond. And it was a good interaction to go into that two-story element, look right through the windows and have that water feature. And then across the road was a commercial center. So just an example of our work. This was our first project and one that we were very proud of. It was very well received in the community. These are some examples of our latest communities in Southern California. We have branded it in what we call the Veronita brand. This is in Veronita, Simi Valley. This community here is actually integrated with a shopping center that we built. So we have retail experience, but integrating the residential retirement congregate care with the retail. Now, what we like to do with the Veronita brand is we like to go vertical with water in our front features, and then we will put a bistro next to that water feature. And those bistros, the programming we like is to have this bistro be an indoor-outdoor bistro where when they're sitting outside, they're looking at the animation with the water, where we have music piped through the speakers, we have scent air going through to try and accentuate the mood in the environment. And then also courtyards, which we program to be family friendly, where we put outdoor kitchens, we program it with events for barbecues or other events to try and bring their families into the community and enjoy the features with them and enjoy the activities. So we are trying to bring the families in and not just where they are put in and felt like they're safe. They've got, you know, a nice warm bed, a nice, you know, hot meal, but really a community that they can all participate and enjoy in. Going through the front door of the same community, we do like our volume. We intend to do this and are working on this plan here in Danbury. You walk through the front door after you get the entry feature. We want to impact with volume right through to our courtyard with water features. In Danbury, we'll probably be using more of a fireplace feature, but they will be fully programmed and fully accessorized and amenitized to bring the activity and the life and the vibrancy right into the core of the building, right when you walk through the front door. Again, we're trying to break the stigma of being a warehouse where people are going warehouse, and we want to provide that community, and we want to be inviting to the rest of the community and have people feel like they can come in and spend time with their loved ones. This is another example of it. The reason why I bring this one up, this is also in Southern California. We call
the Chairman speaking. I appreciate that. There's no question. These are beautiful projects, California, Georgia, etc. This is another beautiful project I'm looking at right here. I just want to make sure we build a bridge between this presentation and what's being proposed for Mill Plain Road, Danbury, Connecticut.
You got it. We're going right there. But what we are trying to do is tell you the elements that we see we've brought to these communities that have been successful for us, and why we think they're going to be successful in Danbury. So when you bring the volume or the accessories, or some of the other elements, like in here, for instance, we have our memory care courtyard, and we bring a feature out that people can see from the road. It's our calling card, but it also provides windows from the memory care wing, which is secured for their safety, but allows them to interface with the outside world, okay? So going to, now here we are, to the property that we're working on with Albert in Danbury. This is our community here. It's roughly 90 units. We're seeing that we're going to be putting the, for consistency and to show you where we're going towards this, we're going to be putting our element here, a water feature or some feature that people can enjoy and engage on. And then you see the, although it's not well, it's not really conspicuous in this exhibit, it does pop out. We've got our outdoor feature where we go indoors and outdoors with our bistro. We have the engagement area in the front, and then we'll go in and have the volume area then going right into the courtyard. In this particular case, we also see an opportunity to be putting balconies up here, which has proven to be very useful and advantageous, especially during COVID, because in these communities, a lot of people would be relegated to their rooms, and it was hard for them to get outdoors. And with the opportunity to be putting the balconies in, they can actually, they're starting to see that as a feature and an advantage, so that they can get some outdoor experience if something like that were to happen, which we don't anticipate, but you never know in this day and age. So a lot of those features that we have designed to large success is planned for this community here. So why did I go through our experience? Not just our ability to plan for master plans or participate on large scale developments, but also for this community, for the senior housing community, we see a unique opportunity. And the opportunity we see here is the interface, not just with the apartments or the retail. That will bring the services around. It'll bring our residents and their eldest daughter cohort to the community, their kids, because there's uses that are compatible with their active daily lives. But we really see the opportunity with the university. The university is a tremendous advantage, we think, and it goes both ways. We not only believe that we're going to be able to provide jobs and training and interface for students who might be interested in senior care. We think that having this community here and having our residents go and enjoy the community center, the fine arts pavilion, classes in the university, also engages and interfaces our clientele, our residents, with the younger generation in the university. So we do see it as a good fit. It's very compatible with the retail uses. It's very compatible with our multifamily uses, but primarily it's compatible with this university, and we think it'll make for a great community. And that's it for my presentation. So I'll leave it over to Doug here, who might bring it over to Joe, and then we'll be available for questions when we're done.
Hello, I believe I'm unmuted now. May I speak? This is
Yeah.
Paul from UHB.
Okay, I'm on again. I apologize. I muted myself while I sneezed and it would not allow me to unmute myself. So my apologies to everyone listening. So please, thank you for your presentation and on to the next one.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point, we've got VHB. Paul Vitiliano will make a quick presentation, and he'll be followed directly by Joe Balkus, and that will be the completion of the applicant's presentation this evening. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commission members. My name is Paul Vitaliano. I'm a civil engineer for VHB. We're located in Wethersfield, Connecticut. I'm going to stick to the engineering aspects of this project. I think a lot of what I was planning on saying has already been covered. So I'm going to try to be as brief as possible, but still cover the aspects of the engineering. As always, the Deputy Planning Director did a great job of summarizing some of the zoning aspects of that. So I'm sure we'll get some of that in the question and answer period. So what I'm sharing on my screen is the entire site plan. I do want to point out some specifics of our surrounding area, even though everyone's familiar with the site. I think this is going to be beneficial when it comes to questions and answers and just understanding our design approach. So I'm also going to avoid zooming in and out because these graphics sometimes take a while to regenerate. So I do want to point out that we're obviously bordered by Mill Plain Road, but on the west side of our site along Mill Plain Road, we have Amity Lane here on our western edge, and we have Greco Auto and Tire at the corner with, as we discussed, a couple of residential houses here. If you follow our perimeter, there are also some other residential homes associated with the Woodland Hill Road and Watson Drive roads that kind of terminate not directly on top of us, but within proximity. As we go around the site to the north, obviously Western State University, as we've talked about, Western Connecticut State University. This parking garage here, I point that out for reference because it will come up later when we talk about emergency access. And along our eastern perimeter, you can see that we are bounded by residential homes here. This is the Crestdale Road neighborhood, which consists of Crestdale Road, Crestdale Drive, and College Park Drive. These lighter green areas that you see here along our our eastern perimeter and our west that converge in the middle, these are wetland systems that kind of dictated our design to some extent. So I did want to point those out. And the buildings, we already kind of discussed at length, so I really don't want to go through them again. I'm going to kind of walk us through the site or drive us through the site, and as I do that, I'll point out the buildings again. But really, when I look at the site and talk this site, I'm really going to talk about it in kind of two sections, with the southern portion being this area here, which consists really of our retail, our commercial, our restaurant use. And then our northern section, which is our congregate housing and our 3 residential buildings and our clubhouse to the north. So starting back down at Mill Plain Road, looking at our access points and really how we feed into the site. Our main point of access is that we will be shifting Amity Lane, which is really a narrow. It's really a driveway. If you've ever had the chance to drive up there and see it, it's very narrow and it's really just servicing a few homes there. We're basically going to shift that over to the east and widen it into basically what you would expect for a full-size access drive into a property like this. And this will be signalized as well. So this will be our main access point. We're also going to have a right-in only right here. Actually, I'm going to zoom in at this point. I'm going to take my chances here. There's a right-in only drive here, which is at the bank, which was building number 1, and the restaurant to its right, building number 2. And a full access in, right out only access here, which basically services the eastern part of the site, which is buildings 3, 4, and 5, which is the retail is number 3, the restaurant is number 4, and number 5 is a 2-story mixed use. There is another access point, which I'll get to later. It's at the north. It's an emergency access connection to Western. I'll talk about that when we're talking about the northern part of the site. So very quickly, if you access the site, let's say by the main drive, you could take a right and you're accessing the parking field for the restaurant, the bank. you can loop around here to the bank drive-through. You can do the same, obviously, if you're coming in from the right in only. This portion here is also connected with the driveway that crosses the wetlands. We're going to culvert the drainage across that. So this connects to the eastern part of the site and this building as well here. So we're fully connected from a vehicular standpoint. So you don't have cars going in and out onto Middle Plain Road to basically go to several uses that are on our property. Back to the Amity Drive, as you head north on this, as was mentioned before, we do have a couple of residents here, and we're making accommodations to tie into their driveways onto Amity Lane. And the first building you come to is a 3-story office building, which has parking underneath. And as you enter their parking lot here, you would basically get to the second story will be at ground level in that parking lot. Continuing north on Amity Lane, as you go north, the grade increases and you go to our residential portion. The first use that you have on your left is the Congregate Housing. As was discussed earlier by Mr. Griffin, we're evaluating slight changes to this to better facilitate their program. So we're working to evaluate some changes here, but basically it would be the same footprint, same type of parking field as you see here. On the right, in case someone's wondering what this curb cut is, we do have a contractor staging and laydown area. A project of this magnitude is going to need some room dedicated for construction equipment, stockpiles, things like that. So we designated this area for that purpose. As you continue north on this access drive, another access to the left goes to residential building 1. I'm guessing this is probably building 8. And continuing further north, you get to the top of the property where you can either take a right or left to access to 2 other residential buildings, which each consist of 166 units and 2 are 67. And basically they have enough parking to accommodate approximately 2 spaces per unit. The clubhouse is accessed through residential buildings 2 driveway and is located at the westernmost portion of the site, which is adjacent to our 3.4 acres of open space, or the clubhouse is within that 3.4 acres. And what you see here in gray is a walking trail. Basically, to keep this area undisturbed, there is a requirement for open space, which is why this property is really acquired, so it could function as the open space for the entire development. So one thing I want to talk about is the topography of this site. And the reason I want to do that is because it really was a driving factor to the layout that you see here today. In case someone's interested in the roadway network or wondering why we did what we did, it really was dictated primarily by the grading and secondarily by the wetlands. The grade change across this property is over 150 feet. When you start here at Mill Plain Road, you're at around elevation 462, and I promise these are the only numbers I will throw at you tonight. 462 down here in our clubhouse, we're up at 611, and it actually is even higher when you go up. So that's 150 feet right there. So when we had to consider how to get a roadway to connect our lower elevation to our northern elevation, our higher elevation, and deal with the wetlands, and also have the responsibility to connect our neighbors' driveways, we basically had to develop this spine road that you see here. And this is a 2-lane divided road. So there's an island in the middle, which we're landscaping, and that basically help guide our design. Consequently, the bottom portion of the site, the southern portion with the commercial retail uses, they're generally at the same elevation. These 4 buildings are approximately the same finished floor. This building is 2 stories with underground parking. So the underground parking's the same elevation. When you get to this parking lot in the front, you're at the 2nd floor elevation. But generally these uses down here at 1 elevation. And as you start continuing north, these are actually like individual pads at their own elevations. And to make those work, they each have their own wall network surrounding them. There's also walls along the road as you go up to make that grade. let's see here. Obviously, in doing that, we had to take careful consideration for the drainage. We're mitigating peak flow runoff by a series of underground detention systems. And, you know, it was kind of a challenge. This site's kind of been taken advantage, if you will, by some of the surrounding areas. The DOT drainage on Mill Plain Road kind of enters the site right now and has to work its way out. There's 3 drainage pipes from the Crestdale neighborhood that discharge directly onto it. So we have to mitigate that stormwater as well. So that led to a complex drainage system, but we feel that we were able to mitigate that. One last thing I want to discuss regarding elevation is that because of our proximity to the airport, we did have to consult the FAA, and we did receive excuse me, positive response that we're basically not going to interfere with their path of flight. There were a couple of things we had to do that. One was to remove the cupola from this building, which I believe for consistency, we're probably going to do for all 3 buildings. And also the finished floor of this building had to change, but basically the grading that was submitted to you is correct. It was just really a correction of what we had listed for the finished floor. Excuse me, very quickly, just to go through the landscaping very quickly. Obviously, we're going to maintain landscaping wherever we can, but really that's limited to the wetland areas. So the trees on the western portion of the site, the eastern portion of the site, and the central wetland are going to remain untouched. Because of the change in grade and the work we have to do, we really are going to be clear cutting a lot of the other areas. So what we're going to do is we're going to replant, obviously, for our development. We're going to obviously meet the residential buffers that are required by the regulations and do our best to screen to the residential buffers on our eastern and western limits. And we're also going to enhance the frontage along Mill Plain Road with series of trees and landscaping that obviously not just meets code, but makes it an attractive site. We're going to have a mix of native species and different types of trees, whether they're maples or cherries, oaks, elms. They're all listed on the landscape plan, and we feel we've done a good job of using native species and spreading them around, and also having the landscape excuse me, access drive coming into the site. Aside from that, the only other site aspect I'd like to touch upon is that our site lighting is obviously designed as full cutoff LEDs to not spill over into the neighbors. So we also, from a utility standpoint, this was covered in the planning report, but since that wasn't read into the record, I'll just point out a couple of things. We are extending water along Mill Plain Road to the site, and that water is going to have to obviously extend throughout the property, and that will require city council approval because it'll be an extension of a main. And preliminarily, we do have approval of our sanitary sewer allotment that we feel is required for this project. So I know that was very brief, Mr. Chairman, but I wanted to speed things along, and I'm sure if there's any questions, we'll be able to address them. If not, at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Joe to talk about traffic.
Yeah, that's fine. I would ask my commission members if you could just, I mean, obviously, if you want to ask a question now, you can. Otherwise, we could wait till the traffic engineer's done. It's up to you. I don't want to restrict anybody from asking questions right now, but we could just forge ahead. Hearing none, I guess we're okay, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I do have a quick question, and it references this signalized intersection. I just want to know if the applicant has gotten at least informal approval for a light at that location. It's a yes or no question.
No.
Okay, thank you.
For the record, Joe Balskis, licensed professional engineer, Connecticut, Paul, VHB out of Wethersfield. I'm going to do just a brief presentation of the traffic study, and I know there may be some questions on it. I know we're short in time here as well, so I'm not going to do all the slides that we have. We'll just go through the important ones and understand that we're getting late here. So just real quick, this is a presentation of the traffic study. I got a few things here. I'm going to run through a couple things here. I first want to start out with what was in the news today on a newspaper. I just want to hit that because the newspaper article made everything sound terrible. And says D is bad rating, and according to VHB did not say that D is bad. So that D level service D is acceptable to DOT, and the DOT highway design manual, which I'm showing here right here, says that it is acceptable level service D. So it's shall be a minimum and no worse than level service D. So that's a Connecticut DOT highway design manual 2020 version, which says that. And also there's a conversation and a discussion article about well, let me finish this. This is also out of highway design manual, and this is a figure which says level service shall be between B and D for this type of roadway. And so we have intersections where there's C's, there's D's. The bottom line is that the traffic study shows that the intersections in the study area operate level service D when all is said and done. And finally, Paul didn't really talk about it in terms of the access. There's also some quotes regarding the access, emergency access. And I just want to hit that. We are in conversations with Western Connecticut State University regarding access, emergency vehicle access on the north end of the project, near the parking garage. We've initiated a conversation. We met with them out in the field last summer, and we're in discussion with Western Connecticut State University as well as the Connecticut State College and University System, as well as a couple other agencies. So those conversations are underway. The process has started with emergency vehicle access opportunity through Western Connecticut State University. So I want to make sure that that's very clear from the outset. All right, back to the presentation. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I know you've read the report. I presented in front of the commission before. You guys you're all pretty up to speed in terms of traffic studies. Just existing conditions. Mill Plain Road is not minor arterial roadway. It's parallel 84. You don't know.
You guys just slow down a little bit, sweetheart. I can't follow you, so just talk a little slower.
Sorry, Chair. Sorry, Arnold. So existing conditions. I will slow down. I was just trying to be a little faster because of the time constraint. But this slide is this slide is about the existing conditions in the project study area, indicating Mill Plain Road is a minor arterial roadway. Posted speed of 40 miles an hour. It's 2 lanes with shoulders. We have ample sight lines across the frontage. And I want to talk about the traffic conditions. This is a table from the report itself showing the ADT, the average daily traffic on Mill Plain Road, on Kenosha Avenue as well. Also showing ADT, average daily traffic from our counts that we've done. And showing about 16,000 vehicles per day across the site frontage. Okay, so this is pre-pandemic traffic volume. Current volumes in 2021 are about 13,000. The pandemic obviously is affecting the volume. So our traffic study utilized pre-pandemic traffic volume. I just want to make sure that's clear that we're using pre-pandemic volumes. We are seeing pandemic volumes creeping up and getting close to pre-pandemic. We're seeing that. The DOT's website shows that in some locations. We are seeing the morning peak hours different. We are seeing some changes, but the bottom line is that we use pre-pandemic traffic volumes for the traffic study. We also included a summary of the crash history at the intersections in terms of what's involved with the intersections. So we didn't see anything significant patterns. We saw some angles at Kenosha that maybe is a pattern. We didn't see any fatalities, but we summarized that in the traffic study. The study intersections. We have basically 5 intersections that we're studying right now, and this may change. It's going through the review process with obviously with the city's engineers, as well as the state traffic administration is going to review it as well. But right now we're looking at Kenosha Avenue to the west, the obviously proposed site drive Amity Lane, and then we have 3 signalized intersections to the east, Crestdale, University Boulevard, and the east site drive to Stop and Shop Marin Hotel. So those are our 5 primary intersections that we're studying. I'm gonna skip over this. I was gonna talk about 84. I'm not going to talk about, we don't have enough time for that. I just want to give you a quick overview of where that stands and how it affects this project, but it doesn't at this point in time. It doesn't. The concepts they're proposing do not affect this project. So you heard about the proposed development mixed use. I'm going to skip through this. This just details the land uses that we used in the traffic study. You know, it's truly a mixed use development. It really is. You've got a variety of uses here that is classic mixed use. This is the kind of development you want. You want mixed uses. The access driveways, Paul went through that a little bit, so I won't spend time on that. In terms of the access driveways, you saw that. I have another slide on that. We are looking at a reduction in curb cuts. There's several curb cuts out there across the site frontage, so we're actually reducing the curb cuts from like 4 or 5 down to 3. So we did reduce the curb cuts. We have ample sight lines, sight distances in both directions along the site frontage. I mentioned that as well. So let's get down to some of the numbers here. And some in terms of the traffic generation that we are proposing for this project. And we break it down in the traffic study. We break it down by use, as you see here, very clear, enter and exit vehicles, a weekday evening peak hour we looked at, as well as a Saturday midday peak hour. We know those are the critical peak hours for Mill Plain Road. Less so the morning peak hour, the weekday morning peak hour, but these are 2 critical peak hours. And you look at that and you say, well, that's a lot of volume, Joe. There's 600 cars, 700 cars being generated. That's just a generation. Now, we also look at how we can reduce these trips with internal capture, with pass-bys. So our net change is actually closer, is 653 and 633 vehicles that we have. So it's actually 600.
Again, I'm sorry, I want to slow you down again. I want you to just say what you just said a little slower. Just
Sorry.
because it's real important stuff. So just say that one more time, a little slower.
Understood. So this, let me back up a minute. This is a table 4 out of the traffic impact study. We've modified some of the descriptions, like congregate care, we modified that, but the overall numbers have not changed. This gives you a summary of the traffic generation by peak hour, enter and exit to the site by land use. And it says 600 and 700 trips. This table is your net. We're allowed to reduce those trips based upon internal capture, you know, shared uses, you're a restaurant, you're an apartment, you're at an office. So those trips are not on the road. So we're reducing those trips. So our net new traffic generation from development is in the 600s in the peak hours. So 300 entering, 300 exiting, both weekday evening peak hour, Saturday midday peak hour. Okay, so about 300. So what does that mean? Sounds good. That's a lot of traffic. All right. What does that mean in terms of distribution? Now, where is all the traffic going? How is it getting to where it's going? So it's based on a couple things. It's based upon access to highways. It's based upon existing traffic volumes. It's based upon adjacent land uses, where their neighborhoods, where their employment centers, things like that. And right now we're forecasting the distribution of all that traffic that we just talked about. Where's it all going? We're showing 40% of the traffic will be going to and coming from the east, Lake Avenue, Interstate 84, downtown Danbury. To the west, on Mill Plain Road, points west out towards Ontahack Road, towards Prindle Lane, towards Selma Road. And then we have some going to Crestdale Road, University Boulevard, all right? And then obviously Kenosha Avenue, we have some 15%, so a total of 100%. So that's how we broke it out. Again, this is in the report. I just want to explain to you how we actually did that. And then we broke it up by site driveway. I'm not going to spend time, this gets into the real details of the generation, but just how each site driveway, we broke out the generation. So from all that, we took our 2018 traffic counts and we developed our background volumes. We developed our build volume, which is basically our development. And we're saying 2025 here. We're actually being conservative here, saying 2025 in terms of that. And we projected those volumes onto our roadway network. And that's one of the volume figures that you see in our traffic impact study, and just gives you the turn and movement traffic volumes. It shows the peak hour turn and movement volume. So what you expect to see at Kenosha Avenue, at our site drive, at the site drives, at Crestdale. This is based upon existing traffic volumes pre-pandemic, and added in I lost the screen share. Joanne, I lost the screen share somehow. I got it back. Let me get it back. Let me try one more time. Am I back? You see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, somehow it lost it. So we have that for the weekday evening. And you can see there's some numbers there. There's numbers that give you just some context. 800 cars going eastbound in the afternoon peak hour, 150 turning left into the site, 175 turning out, things like that. So that's all projected through our traffic models. As you know, we do traffic models. So for the Saturday, same thing on Saturday. So we project these volumes out to all the intersections in our study area. And from that point, we then do our analysis, as you're aware. We do our capacity analysis. So let me go to the next screen. And there we go. We next then do a capacity analysis of our intersections for the peak hours. Look at every single movement at these signalized intersections, at the unsignalized driveways. And we look at, let me just try and move some stuff out of the way here. We look at the existing, all right? So we actually projected the 2018 to 2021, even though it's pandemic. We did not use pandemic volumes. We projected that. Then to 2025, no build, which is no project, and then build with improvements. So we looked at these approaches, these intersection level of service in terms of what's occurring, and Mill Plain at Kenosha. You can see right here. This is existing, no build, and with improvements, and you can see right across the board how level of service changes a little bit. It does increase a little bit. And our key issue is the key thing for us is no build to here. Okay, because this is background, and that's what we're looking at. So you look here, you see overall, you see 0.9 VC ratio, which is capacity. You see a little bit of increase in capacity and level of service D. Delay increased a little bit? Yes, it increased a little bit. We did some retiming of the signals. We coordinated the signals. You're going to see some of that. So some of those do have some changes here. So one thing we're working on here, one thing we do have is we're going from a C to a D, okay, at Kenosha. So we're going to work on that. We're going to have comments on that, I'm sure. We're going to work on that. What can we do to maintain a C? But even so, level of service D is not a bad thing. It's not terrible, okay? But that's really the only intersection where we have some changes in level of service. The other intersections, it gets a little more convoluted here. There's a lot more data here. But the bottom line is that we're not seeing any level of service E's or F's. We're not seeing any significant reductions in level of service and delays, because we're mitigating. We're mitigating the traffic impact. So let me that's unsignalized. That's a site drives. I'm not going to worry about that. Let me talk about how are we addressing this, our offsite improvements. And what are we actually doing at these intersections? So the study area intersections, every one of them, we are going to coordinate and retime, all of them, from Kenosha to Crestdale to University to the East Driveway to Stop and Shop and Marion Hotel. That was now going to be in a coordinated traffic system, all right, with interconnect, so we can best manage the traffic flow during the peak hours. That's a given. You have to do that, and we are proposing that. Number one. Number two, we're adding a traffic signal right here. And that traffic signal is midpoint, roughly of Crestdale to Kenosha. It's a little closer to Kenosha, but it's roughly a midpoint between those two intersections, which is what you want to have. That's what you want to have. You want to have 1,000 feet. We're about 1,000 feet from Kenosha, a little bit more, about 1,200 feet to Lake. I'm sorry, to Crestdale. So that's what you want to have with signalization. You don't want to have them close together. DOT requires, DOT wants you to have 1,000 feet between signals, and that's what we have. So these are the plans and the plans that Paul was showing. This is a little more detailed. So how are we doing that? We are widening Mill Plain Road on both sides. As you can see here, we're actually widening Mill Plain Road. We now have 2 lanes. We're going to have a 3-lane section here. We're going to have wide shoulders. We're adding a left turn lane eastbound into the site driveway here. There's the bank that Paul was talking about. This is Amy Lane right here going up. We're going to have a exclusive left turn lane. We're also going to have a right turn lane right here, see here, going into this turn here as well as into the site drive here. So we're going to widen both sides. So we're going to rebuild Mill Plain Road in this area, and for a pretty good distance. We got a couple 100-foot left turn lane here, which can help these driveways here as well. But we're going to be looking at doing some substantial widening along here, both sides, for the signalization and for the turn movements going into and leaving the site. little more detail, the right turn lane extends towards the curve. As you come around the curve going westbound from Crestdale, we have a right turn lane going into the site, into the first driveway here. As Paul said, there's no left turns allowed out here, and that is not happening on that driveway. It's only right turns out. But again, a right turn lane along Mill Plain Road, so we're not slowing traffic down with traffic turning into the development. Just real briefly about OSTA and Connecticut DOT. OSTA is the Office of State Traffic Administration. This will be a major traffic generator certificate application. It's a big project in terms of the threshold is 100,000 square feet and 200 parking spaces. We are obviously exceeding that. So we are going to be applying to them. Albert had some conversations with OSTA and DOT last year about this project. They know it's coming. We expect to be submitting to OSTA. We were thinking in February, depending on the comments that we received tonight and from the city traffic engineers, that may go till March. But we are planning to submit as soon as we can, get some good feedback from the city. They will approve it only after city approval. So we have to go through a city approval process, get it approved by the city first, then OSTA can approve it. And finally, the Connecticut DOT encroachment permit. All those improvements I just showed you require design approval from the DOT regarding the construction of those improvements, and that's a post OSTA approval. So what did I just tell you? I talked to you about the approval methodologies for OSTA, and obviously we know what city. The traffic data we collected pre-pandemic, we've projected to 2021, we projected to 2025. I showed you the 5 intersections that we're studying. Could we study more? I mean, could you study entire Mill Plain Road? I guess you can. We look at it in terms of at what point are you having an impact at the intersections? And we didn't see impacts beyond the 5 intersections that we looked at in terms of substantial impact. So we left it at the 5 intersections. We have mitigation that we're proposing, the widening, the new signal system in terms of coordinating signals along Mill Plain Road, the new signal at Emily Lane, the widening, reconstruction of Mill Plain Road, the right turn lanes, left turn lane. We're doing all that. And then obviously the Connecticut DOT encroachment permit is going to be part of the review of the offsite improvement. So with that, I think I'm finished with the presentation. I'll leave it at that and complete our presentation for the commission. Thank you very much for your patience and thank you for slowing me down.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem. No problem, Joe. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Paul. Mr. Chairman, at this point, the applicant will rest for the evening. We will stand by to answer any questions, and we recognize that you announced your intention to continue the hearing till the next meeting on the 17th. So we'll turn over the microphone to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Marcus. So what we'll do from this point forward is we'll ask if staff has any comments. Then I'm going to go to the commissioners for questions. Then I'll ask for those speaking in favor and those speaking in opposition. So first, staff, anything at this point? Jennifer.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. For the record, Jennifer Eminger, Deputy Planning Director. So I want to go back to the traffic report. Joe, in your table 8 that you went through very quickly, which for the benefit of the commission is page 29 on your numbered traffic report that was emailed earlier. Again, table 8.
Got it.
It looked, and I don't know, Joe, if you can go back to that and share that screen. My one concern is as you were going through it, it looked like the numbers were different. And I just want to make sure that the information that the commission, the information that was submitted with the application that they've reviewed and the traffic engineer has reviewed is the same that you presented tonight.
Great question, Jennifer. I should have clarified that. We have updated the level service analysis and tweaked a few things before the meeting tonight. So I will put that into the record to submit that. So we did actually go through and make some minor tweaks as we always do with this. But yes, there is some slight changes to the level service analysis for that table, and we will submit that.
Can you?
Right.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. One more follow up.
Yes.
Joe, I think it would be very helpful if you would summarize, again, you can do this when you submit the updated traffic report, the which legs of the intersection you updated.
So we went back
You
and
don't
looked at,
have to do it now. I'm just
Okay,
saying,
all right,
once
got
you
it.
submit.
got it. Okay.
So Jennifer, the traffic report that our traffic engineer is looking at right now has been changed.
Well,
Well, just hold on. Yes, has it been changed? I mean, we were waiting for our own traffic engineers. So you're going to have to tell them that they're going to have to reevaluate this new traffic report that we're going to get. You're going to have to make sure that.
yeah, Chair, let me clarify. So we were expecting to have comments in advance of the commission meeting tonight. Obviously, the comments are here, but we're getting them. I fully expect that we'll be further revising the analysis. I expect comments. This is a large project. There's a lot of traffic modeling going on here. We tweaked the analysis for just Kenosha Avenue. That we looked at that and said, you know what, let's look at it again. We're going to the hearing tonight. We don't have any comments yet from the city. Can we tweak things? And that's what we did. So we did. There's no major change to the traffic study, Chair. It's just we tweaked the build condition analysis for Kenosha to see can we make it work better. We better timed it. We had better coordination with our. We submitted this back in October. So we submitted back in October. We haven't looked at it since October. So I looked at it again and said, can we do better timing? And that's what we did. So that's only a change. There's no major change in the traffic impact study. There's no major change in the analysis. It's really just one condition that we tweaked. But I also suggest to you that we'll be tweaking things more when we get the comments from the traffic team at the city. So I think I can submit it and I will submit it. But I'm sure we're going to be tweaking some of these analyses as part of the normal review process. We just hope we had it before the hearing, but we didn't. So we looked at it one more time, and we'll certainly make it right with respond to comments from tonight as well as from the official traffic engineer report.
Go ahead, Jen.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may,
Please.
I would just like to note for the record, we received the traffic engineer's comments late in the day, as well as the engineering department's comments late in the day. Because of the time that they were received, we will be sending those out to the commission as well as to the project team tomorrow. But I'll go on the record as saying, staff spent a lot of time reviewing the report that was submitted, as did the planning commission. So to make the tweaks at the 9th hour before the commission hearing is unfair, because we've looked at LOSs, we've looked at all the details you've provided us to make those changes and then make that presentation and tweaks without any explanation, I think is unfair to staff and the planning commission. And again, I would just reiterate, please enumerate the changes that you made specifically.
Understood.
I agree with Jennifer on that.
Thank you.
Commission members, any questions for the applicant at this point? Anyone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Joel.
I'm going to not ask my whole list because of the hour. It's getting a little late, I can see. Yeah, it's 9:30. But I'm going to throw it up. You don't have to answer me tonight. Have the answer when you come back. How's that? I already asked about the signal light. You're saying the DOT will not even pass on it until we approve it. Is that correct?
No, I wouldn't say that, Joel. We can certainly submit it to the district and then go to the headquarters. We can try that. I can't guarantee they're going to respond. I'm very confident that they're going to approve this location, given, as I demonstrated, it's roughly halfway between Kenosha and Crestdale. We meet the warrant for traffic signal by far. So I will go on the record and say that I believe they will eventually approve it. If you want a conceptual approval from them saying that they think it's a potential signalization based on information that's submitted, we can certainly do that. We can certainly do that. I'm doing this for 32 years or 33 years now. And knowing the DOT in the districts as well as the headquarters, I'm fairly confident that we're going to get the signal. I haven't seen DOT reject the signal of this kind of situation in my career.
The 2025 build back on one of the charts you were showing, while you were talking about nothing gets bad and doesn't go below D. Actually, it goes from D to F and in the 2025 bill. And of course, F is one of those things that's unacceptable in any grading system. I want you to relook that whenever you come back to tell me you're not presenting an F in the 2025 build.
Yeah, Joe, if I could just address you real quick. I should have been clear. Those are overall intersection level services. There are some movements that may be reduced in level of service, but the overall intersection level service has not gone to F. There may be some approaches at certain locations that may have declined in level of service and delay. I acknowledge that. I should have been clearer. It's the overall intersection level service that's not declining.
Well, you can discuss it on the next meeting, but I clearly saw F on your chart.
Yes, yes.
Okay, on the signal of timing, again, we have a very difficult time getting the Prindle Lane lights timed, synchronized with the state. And if you're only going to synchronize this small strip, how's that answer when you come back? How does that impact the signal timing that we did down on the Prindle Lane end? Because, you can create a hell of a traffic jam if they're working together. This isn't really a traffic question. It's just something I want to throw up. You said there's walls all around each of these. I assume you're going to talk about later in your presentations what kind of walls they are, how big they are, views and stuff like that. And there was a couple of quotes that concerned me a little bit. Again, I don't expect an answer tonight. We were talking about screening to the residents to the east. The expression, we'll do our best to screen them. Well, complying with the regulations is not the best you can do to get towards it. It's you either comply or you don't comply. So that concerns me a lot when you use that kind of language. And on the emergency access, the term, we're in discussions with the university. This is kind of late in the game to be in discussions about fire truck access to the whole project. That should have been buttoned up in my opinion, before you ever walked in the door. But anyway, those are the kinds of things that's gnawing at me.
Okay.
That's it.
That's fair, Joel, and we will ask the applicant to respond to those issues. Again, the landscape buffers, I recall, and the wall. Joel mentioned walls, and I'd like to make one request, if I may. I guess this goes to Paul Vitaliano. Comment 7 on the staff report mentions retaining walls that could potentially go up to 50 feet. That's a hell of a retaining wall. I'd like to see, and I don't know, maybe you could just reconfigure one of the maps that have already been done, but just simply a map of the project with all of the retaining walls highlighted. So maybe it could be a black and white map, and the only coloration on the whole map would be the retaining walls. So we could, to Joel's point, we could see where they are and how many there are and how big they are. That might be helpful to the commission because there's a lot of topography changes. There's a steep slope here. I think we should know where all those retaining walls are. I think, Joel, that's a good question. That's fair. And also on the maps, I noticed that, again, we're talking about, I think it's the lower part of the project, buildings 2, 3, 4, 5. Crestdale, I can't remember if it's road or lane, but there's a dead end that's right above that. And the maps don't show where the houses are on Crestdale. They show the lots, but not where the houses are. I'd like to see how close those houses come to those retaining walls. So if the maps could include an indication or just show where the houses are, that would be helpful too. I don't know which of the applicant's team would do that, but I just think that a map showing where the houses are in Crestdale would be helpful. Any other questions at this point, commission members?
Mr. Chairman?
Hold Helen, we'll go to Bob first and then to Helen.
Oh,
Go ahead.
sure. Yep.
Just a couple of questions, mainly for Joe there. In the study, I think it's page 16, it talks about the background traffic growth. And there's a comment in there that it says no recently approved developments. So you're using the same traffic counts. Caroluzzi's is about to, go live, I guess, over the next probably few months. It seems to me that might bring a bunch more traffic compared to, the background count. So I'd like you to at least, and you don't have to do it right now, address how that might affect the traffic. I know it's farther down the road, but I think there's probably going to be a lot of people coming from the east to go there. Maybe they were going to Stop and Shop, but now they'll go to Caroluzzi's or however. But so if you can address that next time. And then question, you're going to coordinate the signals there. Are they coordinated today at all, or is this going to be a total new coordination? That's probably a yes or no, I guess.
Yeah, no, they're coordinated at Stop and Shop in Crestdale. Those are coordinated, but they're not coordinated with Kenosha. So we're going to put them in all in one system from Kenosha all the way to the east drive of Stop and Shop Marin Hotel.
Okay, great. In the study, if I'm right, I think the overall traffic daily counts were like 14 to 16,000 per day on Mill Plain, if I'm right. And then I noticed, I think I'm not sure what page, 93, I think. It talks about 7,315 vehicles per day that's going to be generated from this project. So it looks like, that's 50% increase in the traffic. It just seems to me, just by looking at those numbers, how could these roads handle it? And so maybe you can kind of help us laymen at the next meeting, kind of see how that 7,000 will fit in. And so now I guess it's going to go from 14 to 21,000, how that really doesn't affect the level of service. And I know you're looking at each intersection there. So maybe you can kind of tie that together and, just by looking at the numbers, you're going to add 7,000 to 14,000. How could that not affect service there? Let's see. Give me 1 second. I think that's all I had. Wow.
Yeah, Bob, I just want to make sure it's on the report that got sent out today, the handwritten number on the lower right-hand corner is page 89, and it shows, it's a very small font, but it's like, I think it's 7,300 weekday trips. That's what you're referring to, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And the issue is to explain how that fits into the existing traffic. Okay, gotcha. Helen, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two very quick questions. Don't need answers tonight, but in terms of parking in the residential buildings, I think the quote of how many spaces per unit was about 2, I think is what I heard. And seeing as how it's residential, there are visitors that come, and I'm not sure if 2 spaces per, you have a lot of, you have 2-bedroom, most of these are 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom. And if, it may not be enough parking spaces for visitors as well. So that may be an issue. So I just would like somebody to address it next time. I also want to know, there's a construction area which is sizable for, construction equipment when the project is being done. when it's completed, it might have been mentioned, but I didn't get it if it was. What would that become, that area? So that's another one, can be answered next time. And then I just wanted to point out, just confirming, I think Attorney Marcus mentioned this, that all of the staff issues that were identified are going to be addressed in a lot more detail, and that includes the retaining walls, internal sidewalks, things like that. So I'm just hoping that's going to be the case, because we could use more detail in all of those. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Helen. Perry, go ahead.
Just quick, because most of it was covered for me, and I kind of went through everything that was sent to us first before really reading the department reports. And a lot of my concerns were reiterated in the department reports and here, namely the retaining walls, as well as the internal sidewalks and the walkability of the complex, and how that contributes to the general university area there and the walkability in that area. Other than that, a lot of it was related to traffic, and I think those questions are out there, so I'll wait to hear the next meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sylvain. I too will defer a lot of questions about traffic till I have the opportunity to read our own traffic engineer's report. I do have one question about Amity Lane. What becomes of Amity Lane? I can't quite figure it out. I don't believe Amity Lane currently is a city street, an approved city of Danbury Street. I think it's a private road. I don't know. But looking at the maps and looking at where the houses are on it, what becomes of Amity Lane? What happens to it? And I'll throw that open to the applicant. Anyone?
I'm on. Okay, Arnie, it's Neil Marcus. We've had a discussion with the city on the status of Amity Lane, and in fact, it is not a city road. It is a privately owned right-of-way. So that basically the property owners on either side of Amity Lane own to a point in the center line. And so the applicant is going to improve Amity Lane, and we will do that in a manner to provide driveway aprons better than are there now, and access to the co-owners on the other side of Amity Lane. But it's not a city road.
Okay, I imagine you must need easements or something from the property owners to go over it and come. I mean, isn't that correct? Wouldn't you need permission to go over and come back, or whatever the case may be?
That's a point that was raised in the staff report that we will address. We don't really think we need the easements, but we'll get the consents from the property owners to do the work. We've already gotten that, but we'll get formal ones.
Okay. All right. Obviously, there's a lot here, a lot to digest. Many of the commission members are going to defer additional questioning till the next meeting, which is fine. But in keeping with our agenda, I will ask at this time if there is anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application. Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Yes.
Please identify your name and address for the record, please.
Of course. My name is Luigi Marconi. I am the Chief Facilities Officer and Associate Vice President for Campus Planning at Western Connecticut State University. I reside in Bethel. If you want that address, I'm happy to give that as well.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a few points, and thank you for all of your time. Some of this might be rudimentary, but I thought it's important to mention. Western has been a part of the Danbury community since 1903. We've added to the diversity and the success of the greater Danbury area since then. We attract students from throughout the state, and as some people have mentioned, from New York and New Jersey. Between our two campuses, we offer a residential experience to as many as 1,800 residential students and an additional 3,000 commuter students. I want to be clear that Western Connecticut State University and Albert Salem's team do not have a partnership. We are not affiliated. There's no long-term relationship other than us being good neighbors, okay? As neighbors, we welcome the opportunity to enhance the educational experience of our students. We welcome the access to dining and employment opportunities for our community, meaning the Western community. And with that said, we endorse and support the project.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marconi. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone else in favor? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? I see a hand up. It's like Stephanie Delfonso. We'll start with her. You're muted, and then we'll go to the others. Please, Stephanie, you have to unmute yourself.
Got it. Thank you. Hi, I'm Stephanie Delfonso. I live at 40 Middle River Road. And I have a couple of statements, but then also questions that will, for future meetings. I kept trying to on Google to find out what year it was, but it was well over 10 years ago. There was a proposed movie theater for, I believe, where the Caroluzzi's is going in now. And that was denied over a decade ago because of traffic concerns on Mill Plain Road. So now we have, all these years later, we're talking about unbelievable numbers that Bob brought up, going from 14,000 to 21,000, and all those numbers, which, by the way, what was the numbers that they came up with? The Highway Design Manual from 2003. So that's all, that's 20 years ago. So traffic has only gotten worse. And I would invite any of you on this commission or on the project at all to come sit at my house on a Friday afternoon on Middle River Road when 84 is backed up. You're not looking at where the traffic is going other than on Mill Plain Road and Kenosha. You're not looking at it going on Ant Hack and on Middle River and down to Franklin Street Extension. On a Friday afternoon when 84 is backed up, we are unbelievably hit with hard traffic. So I would ask that you open up and look at that as well. I'm also concerned about the access. You're talking about the emergency access road to get into from WestCon. Is there something designed in there to be gaining access for emergency access from Middle River near the magnet school to get up through there? There's been no mention of that. So those are questions that I would like to hear answered in the future. And again, I would invite you to come stay at my house on a Friday afternoon or put down those little strips where they count the cars. I haven't seen them do that on Middle River for several years now. But to take into account not just Middle River and Kenosha, but when 84 is backed up, and whoever mentioned the Caroluzzi's traffic hasn't been factored into this as well. My understanding when Caroluzzi's was approved that the access was going to be from Prindle Lane, and it's not. It's directly from Mill Plain. So in addition to all these numbers of the thing we're discussing tonight, there's also all that traffic from Caroluzzi's. And again, over a decade ago, they said no to a movie theater, and traffic has only doubled or tripled. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Yes, sir. It looks like John, and I can't pronounce your name. I'm sorry, Dubeck. You're muted, so go ahead. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm John Dobeck. I live at 4 College Park Drive, and that borders this property in question on the east. And I have 2 questions. This is mostly just based upon ignorance, but in looking at the documentation and the maps that were made available, there are two sections, or actually they're lines that I'd like to have an understanding of what they mean. One, it says it's 100-foot regulated area limit line. And I don't know what that means, but property goes through there and there's retaining walls and that sort of thing through it. So I don't know what that means. Is there someone that could explain what that means, and what does it actually limit?
I will allow the applicant to respond to that. It's got something to do with engineering. We haven't even gotten our own engineer's report yet, so we're going to put that question down and get you an answer for it.
Okay, sounds good. The second has to do with two lines. One is called the 25-foot residential landscape buffer, and then 5 feet away from that is the 30-foot side yard setback.
So John, what map are you referring to? Believe me, we've gotten a stack of paper, maps all over the place. What exactly are you referring to? Which were you pulling it from?
I am looking at the map that is map number 10 on the, is it 10? Hold on here. Let me just make sure that it's.
What's the heading? Which one of the various handouts? What's the heading on it? What's it labeled?
It's West. It's the VHB map. And they have it in a group of 12 maps. It actually is map number 9, and it says Westcon Park, Mill Plain Road, Danbury, Connecticut, erosion and sediment control C-5.0.
All right. All right. I see the report you're talking about. I'm going to have to take these questions down. These are pretty detailed engineering questions, not appropriate. We can't answer those tonight, but I will get you responses to those questions.
Okay, and the reason that I'm curious is it shows those lines actually going through the wetlands. And I'm just curious if there is something that has to do with mitigation, if it has to do with landscape buffers. I'm curious as to how those buffers can actually be placed in wetlands, and so therefore I'm sure I'm just not understanding, but that's the curiosity is based upon whatever has to occur with buffers. I'm curious as how that can happen inside a wetland.
Jen, is he talking about the erosion and sediment control plan? Is that what he's talking about? Is that the map he's referring to?
I believe that's the map he's citing, and the two lines that he's talking about, I believe, is the side yard setback, which is a zoning regulation, which means that you can't build within that side yard setback. And then the district buffer is the landscape buffer. That's also a zoning requirement. But again, those lines are mirrored, I believe, throughout the entire map set. He's just referencing one of the erosion and sediment control plans.
All right. Well, we'll get you a better answer on that when we get a report from our own engineering staff.
Thank you,
Well,
Mr.
do you have any
Chairman.
other than those very specific questions, was there any general concerns you wanted to express? You mentioned you were speaking in opposition. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Well, it's really about something that I think was mentioned about 15 or 20 minutes ago. And it really has to do with what are the setbacks, what are the mitigation for related to those houses on the eastern edge of this property. It has to do with those retaining walls. It has to do with how much of the ridge that's behind us is going to get blasted away, and what is it ultimately going to look like in terms of additional impact upon those of us who are on the eastern edge. And it's hard to tell.
Are you on Crestdale Lane?
I am on College Park, which is it's the road that goes off of Crestdale Road to the north, and it hits a cul-de-sac.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
The staff report did ask for further information detailing the scope and specifications of the drilling and blasting. They did ask about a geotechnical engineer, so that is number 6 on the staff report, and that will have to be addressed. And also, looking down at number 7, given the close proximity of the retaining wall to the adjacent residential properties, the applicant must verify if additional grading is required or if offset grading rights are required. So that Those questions have been specifically submitted to the applicant, and they will have to be responded to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Joanne or Jen, if you see a hand up, let me know. I don't see anything right now. No.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Charlie has his hand raised.
Okay, Charlie, you're on. Go right ahead.
May I unmute? Thank you very much for the opportunity to address this committee. I have two questions. During Mr. Salome's presentation, he addressed a sewer and water tax that would benefit the area. And it's my understanding that all of the businesses on Mill Plain and our houses are all on septic and sewer. So is he proposing to bring that infrastructure into the area, or is he going to develop septics and wells for all of these buildings he's proposing to?
No. This is not going to be. There's not going to be individual septic systems. And the engineering for this project is very elaborate. And again, I apologize. We have not yet gotten back our report from our own engineering staff. But the drainage is a big deal. And that will be addressed as soon as we hear back from our own engineering department.
Well, drainage for the wetlands, preservation of wetlands, I understand, but sanitary sewer and water was addressed, and we don't have that here on Mill Plain, as far as I know. So, how is that going to be addressed? And in this proposal, is that something that they're going to provide?
I don't want to start talking like an engineer here.
Well, we have engineers on the call, right? Can they address that?
Mr. Chairman, I think I heard that they were going to bring they were going to tap into the city water, right, and bring that into the facility, right?
Yeah, there's a city water main on Mill Plain Road that they're going to tap into, and they mentioned they were going to bring it up through the project and the topography and all the rest of it. So that's I know they're bringing city water to the site. They have to.
Sewage too. Is that available on Mill Plain Road?
Mr. Chairman, I could answer very quickly with your permission.
Please, Paul, go ahead.
There is a sanitary sewer manhole directly opposite from where we're proposing the bank. So our sewer would just connect across the street on Mill Plain Road to that manhole.
And Charlie, I'm sorry, I didn't ask you to state your name and record and address for the record. You got to do that.
For the record, Charles Louts, 28 Crestdale Drive.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and again, it's hard to give you a quick answer on the enormous engineering issues that arise out of this application. What might be a good idea, Charlie, is to read the engineer's report, which is public record, and then ask questions off of that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just something that bounced in my head was, I thought we extended the water service all the way out to Brindle Lane.
I don't know. I think that's correct, Joel. But again, I don't want to debate that at this point. I think that's an open question. Like there's a lot of open questions, and it absolutely has to be addressed. And there is a comment on Jennifer's report that speaks to that issue. There's 26 comments here. They're all going to have to be responded to. All of them.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and I think Paul can answer this very quickly. Paul, can you clarify where the water service is coming from, where it's terminating, and including the sewer service? Just because I think Charlie's question asks if the sewer is being brought up to Crestdale, if I'm correct, water or sewer. So if you can just clarify where the utilities are terminating and extending.
Yes, very quickly, back to the sanitary sewer. The sanitary sewer infrastructure on Mill Plain Road consists of one manhole. It does extend on Mill Plain Road, so we're just tying into a manhole that's already there. So we're not extending the sanitary sewer, we're connecting to what's there. As far as the water, there's actually a gap in the water line. To answer Joel's question, I'm not exactly sure where it was extended to. There's a gap in the water main in front of our site. So we would actually have to extend from either the east or the west. We're proposing to extend from the west across our frontage up to the right out only full access in curb cut, which is our easternmost curb cut. So that's how far we're going to extend. And from there, the water is going to come up into our site. So we're extending further east. We're picking up what's at the west and we're coming east towards us, if that makes sense to anybody. And for those that want to look at the plan, you would see that on sheet C 4.1 and 4.2.
Thank you. That's going to be about the best answer we can give you right now on that particular question. Was there anything else, or are we all set?
There was also a comment made by Mr. Salome about something about infrastructure and the commute to New York City and all of the traffic on 84. Is it his intention to somehow bring a train station to the site, or more bus?
Look, I can't speak for the applicant, but I think it was just a general observation about the potential for train, but it had nothing to do with this application. There's no train tracks on this application or any plans for any. Neil, I'll let the applicant speak to that, but I think that he was just making a general observation about transportation back and forth to New York.
I think he was trying to mitigate the impact on the traffic on Mill Plain Road.
I don't know. I'll ask the applicant if Attorney Marcus is still on, if he wants to speak to that. I don't.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Salem was commenting on basically the growth on Mill Plain Road in the future and the projection to bring a rail line, to reactivate the rail line that used to serve Mill Plain Road when I was a kid, that went to Brewster. That's what he's talking about. There's no intention of constructing any train station on the site. There's been talk that a train station may be constructed further west on Mill Plain Road to serve a lot of the housing that already exists down by the old Union Carbide. So it was a general comment on transportation infrastructure and how this project is geared towards the future, which is when we expect to see that. That was it.
Thank you, Neil, for the clarification.
You're welcome.
Okay.
The
only other question I had was, in the traffic report, I heard a lot of comments about curb cuts and driveway access or whatever, but I didn't hear any analysis of what happens on Route 84 during peak hours, and if there's an accident on 84 and how that impacts Mill Plain, because I know from living here that when there's an accident on 84, Mill Plain is jammed up like you couldn't believe. So
right. That's true, but the applicant's traffic report does not do counts on it's basically silent on the matter of I-84. It's silent. Joe, did you want to talk to that?
Yeah, the chair, if I can speak to that. Yeah, and the Interstate 84 issues that are happening, that's being studied by Connecticut DOT. That's a long-term project that's being studied by DOT. They are incorporating traffic being projected from different land uses in the area. And so that is beyond the scope of this project. Will the Office of State Traffic Administration ask us to review that? They could. When I did the reserve master planning, we did look at 84, impacts 84, a much larger project and traffic. They could ask us for that. We don't see a need for that at this present time. We know 84 is going to be reconfigured in some fashion and widened in some fashion in this area to address some of the curvature issues. But we do not normally look at interstate highway impact from a development unless it's substantially large and substantial generator traffic. And so like the reserve. So we have not looked at. Will we be asked to look at that? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It's not, I will say this, it's not the purview of the city to do that. That'd be a state administration to ask them to do that. So that's possible. They could ask them to do that. They could.
I understand that, but as a resident, it is a huge impact when.
No, we know that. We know when there's an accident on 84, everybody gets a mill plane. We know that. We do know that. Everyone knows
Well, an accident or, I mean.
that. No, I got you.
On a Friday in the summertime at 4 o'clock and see what happens on Mill Plain and what is going on 84 and tell me,
Thank you for your comments. We're gonna move on. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Anyone else in opposition? And anyone else speaking in opposition to this application? Okay. Neil, do you have anything to wrap up before we move on?
Thank you for your indulgence.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would tell you that one of the early comments from Stephanie DeFazio talked about a movie theater. Actually, that was my project many years ago. That movie theater was down on Prindle Lane, and the traffic issue was really the railroad. We couldn't get across the railroad tracks, and the cost of building a bridge over the railroad tracks was prohibited, and we were denied because we couldn't do an on-grade crossing of the railroad. So she's correct in remembering that traffic was an issue, but it was actually the rail tracks that were the issue. But that was way further down and was not where the site was. I recall that from my misspent youth. But,
Neil, if I could say something real quick to that. So she mentioned also that the traffic has doubled on Mill Plain Road. It has not. It actually has gone down. Since 2007, traffic volume on Mill Plain Road in the area of this site has gone down. That's a matter of record and fact, and we'll submit that, but traffic has not doubled on Mill Plain Road.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll correct that misconception. But other than that, I think at this point, given the hour, I would be perfectly amenable to holding back any further comments from the applicant till we meet again. Thank you.
That's fine with me. Commission members, do I hear a motion to continue this public hearing?
So moved.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Mr. Uri, seconded by Mr. Sylvain to continue the public hearing. Any comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This matter will be continued until our next meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your patience on this matter. Thank you.
And you as well, Mr. Chairman of the Commission. Thank you.
Okay, we already did our old business, so that's out of the way. Under continuation of public hearing, you see the TDRAP LLC, application for special exception and revised site plan, approval for self-storage, modern self-storage in the IL40 zone, 12 Great Pasture Road. As indicated, there will be no discussion or testimony at this meeting. The applicant has requested that the hearing be continued to the February 17th, 2022 special meeting. Jen, I believe I need a motion to continue, correct?
That's correct. And I just wanted to add, we just received revisions today. The applicant didn't want to be on tonight's agenda. So by the time we get to the 17th, we'll be ready to discuss the revisions and you'll be presented with those revisions.
Great, Jen, thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to continue special exception 782.
Second.
Thank you. Motion made by Mr. Uri, seconded by Ms. Hofstadter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 This matter will be continued until February 17th. Under referrals, we're not going to talk about, yes, we are. No, Jen, when are we going to do this petition City of Danbury? Is that tonight?
No, Mr. Chairman, so I was going to remind the commission at the end of the meeting, don't forget there's the special meeting tomorrow at 3 o'clock. And at that point, Sharon will handle the CIP as well as the 8-3A referral.
And the other JAR one as well?
No, that's a public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's scheduled for February 17th.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Okay. And I just want to remind the commission, because you had, 4 agendas went out. 2 were, there were issues with our IT department and with the links being deactivated in the first round of agendas. Just as a reminder, Joanne sent out the second agenda. Just make sure you're accessing the correct agenda, and that went out yesterday. Okay.
Fair enough.
I
Thank
just
you
want to
for
make
that.
sure everyone's using the correct agenda that has the correct link.
So like Jennifer said, if you haven't had enough fun this evening, at 3 o'clock tomorrow, we get to have another meeting. And I know that's something we're all very much looking forward to. There's a few items for reference only. Unless there's anything else, Jen, I hope I'm not missing anything. It's a little late.
No, you were not. You've covered everything.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick reminder that I will not be at the special meeting tomorrow, and hopefully Mr. Haas can step in.
Great. Thanks very much for that, Perry. Thanks for the reminder. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Kyokyo motion, Helen second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you very much, everybody. It's very late, and I know you're all big, important application, a lot of stuff. So,
Good job.
and
Thank you.
again,
Good night.